Her name was Eve Carson, a bright student who vanished from her own home in the middle of the night, leaving absolutely no trace behind. Police immediately launched a search, but a dark reality soon unfolded before them. By piecing together scarce clues, they uncovered exactly what happened to her, and the truth of this case shook the entire country. Eve Carson was born on November 19, 1985, in Athens, Georgia. From a young age, she was known for her incredible determination. Eve served as the student body vice president at her high school and dedicated her time to charity work, volunteering at nursing homes and shelters for troubled youth. In high school, she even worked as a page in the U.S. House of Representatives and held a job in a stem cell research lab. Graduating as valedictorian, Eve attended the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill on a prestigious scholarship, where she double-majored in political science and biology. She was a central figure in campus life, holding leadership positions in numerous student organizations. On top of all that, she continued her charitable work and tutored elementary school students in science. Eve also traveled the world on service missions. She spent a summer in Ecuador working as a medical assistant, studied abroad in Cuba for a semester, and visited Egypt with a research group. Eve was, by all accounts, one of the most outstanding students at her university, with a bright future ahead. Even before graduation, she had already secured a job at a top-tier consulting firm. In March 2008, at the age of 22, she was nearing the end of her senior year. At the time, she was renting a house near campus with friends. On March 5th, around 1:30 a.m., her roommates headed out to a party and invited Eve along. She declined, needing to study for the next day. Her friends left without her and returned around 4:30 a.m. Approaching the house, they noticed the front door was wide open and the lights were on inside. But Eve was nowhere to be found, and her car was missing from the driveway. It was bizarre. Her friends couldn't understand where she would go in the middle of the night, or why she would leave the door open. They tried calling her, but she didn't pick up. Despite the worry, they assumed she might have had an urgent errand and decided to wait for her return. However, by the next day, Eve still hadn't appeared. One of her friends went to the local police station to file a missing person report. As soon as the friend explained the situation, officers revealed grim news. Early that morning, they had found a young woman who had passed away, but she was still unidentified. Police showed the friend a photograph, and she immediately recognized Eve. It turned out that around 5 a.m., police received a call from a woman living about 1.5 miles from Eve's house. She had woken up to the sound of loud pops, followed by a piercing scream. Terrified, she called the authorities. When police arrived on that street, they found the victim. She had no ID on her, which is why she remained a Jane Doe. The only thing investigators knew for sure was that she had sustained fatal injuries from a weapon. After the identification, detectives spoke with neighbors to build a timeline. At 12:30 a.m., Eve was home studying. By 5 a.m., her life had been taken 1 mile away. Now, police had to figure out how she got there and who was responsible. Since her car was missing, investigators theorized the motive was robbery. Supporting this theory, a search of Eve's room revealed her wallet and bank cards were gone, and they weren't found at the scene either. Medical examiners found no signs of physical assault, ruling out one common motive. Police tracked her phone, finding it was last active near a highway outside of town, but the device was never recovered. It seemed the perpetrator had tossed the phone into a wooded area. However, detectives soon got a break, a report of an abandoned vehicle matching Eve's car. It was found just a few miles from her home. Investigators handed the vehicle over to forensics to sweep for fingerprints and DNA. Meanwhile, digital forensics on Eve's computer showed she had been using it until 3:30 a.m. This meant she was safe at home for at least 2 hours after her roommates left. Somehow, after that time, she ended up miles away. By then, news of the tragedy had spread across the city. The campus was in shock. Eve was known by almost everyone, and nobody could believe she was gone. Panic set in among the student body. The lack of leads only fueled the fear. Police received hundreds of tips, but nothing brought them closer to solving the mystery. Then, a crucial piece of evidence emerged. Suspecting the cards were stolen, police tracked the bank records. They found that just 18 minutes after Eve last used her computer, someone withdrew $700 from her account in 2 transactions. The person tried to withdraw more, but was declined due to the daily limit. This ATM was at a shopping center on the other side of town. Security footage showed a man using Eve's card. He was driving her car, and there appeared to be someone else in the back seat. Detectives suspected the person in the back might be Eve, but the video quality was too poor to be sure. Attempts to enhance the footage failed. While trying to identify the driver, they learned the perpetrators tried other ATMs across the city, but those locations lacked cameras. This continued until March 7th, when police got another hit. This time, a suspect entered a convenience store at 12:30 a.m. to use the ATM. The transaction was declined. Police rushed to the store in a neighboring town. The security cameras there were working. The footage showed a man trying to use Eve's card, but it was a different man than the one in the first video. Police realized they were looking for multiple suspects, or perhaps the card had been passed along. They released the images to the media, hoping the public could help. On March 12th, a tip came in. An anonymous caller identified the man in the second video as Demario Atwater. Detectives dug into his background and found a significant criminal history. At 21, Demario had multiple prior convictions. He had served time and was currently on probation. In fact, he was due in court just 2 days after Eve's tragedy for a probation violation involving a weapon. Comparing mugshots to the security footage, it was a match. Officers went to his home near the convenience store. Demario denied everything, but the video evidence was enough for an arrest. Police also learned Demario was friends with a 17-year-old named Lawrence Levitt, who also had a criminal record despite his age. Looking at his photo, detectives immediately recognized him as the driver from the first ATM video. Unlike Demario, Lawrence didn't go quietly. He barricaded himself in a house, requiring a SWAT team to extract him. Both suspects denied involvement. However, cell tower data placed their phones near Eve's street on the night of the incident, despite them living in a different city. Detectives pieced together the theory. Demario and Lawrence chose Eve at random. They were likely looking for a robbery target and saw her alone in the house late at night. They forced her into her own car and drove her to ATMs, forcing her to reveal her PIN. After hitting the withdrawal limit, they drove her to a secluded area on the outskirts of town and ended her life. Due to the severity of the crime, prosecutors sought the ultimate penalty for Demario. Lawrence, being a minor, faced life imprisonment. To ensure a conviction, prosecutors offered Demario a plea deal. Plead guilty to avoid the ultimate penalty. He accepted. He confirmed they spotted Eve through a window and broke in. Throughout the ordeal, Eve pleaded for her life, promising not to call the police. But Demario admitted they decided to end it because she had seen their faces, even though they made no effort to hide them. Demario added a heartbreaking detail. Before the end, Eve asked them to pray with her. Instead, they committed the fatal act. In April 2010, Demario received 2 life sentences plus 30 years. He apologized to Eve's parents in court. Lawrence refused to plead guilty. His trial began in December 2011. Despite his defense, the evidence and his partner's testimony led to a guilty verdict and a life sentence. However, in 2013, an appellate court overturned his sentencing, citing new laws regarding life sentences for minors. During his resentencing, Lawrence spoke, claiming, "Everyone makes mistakes, and he wasn't a monster." He showed no true remorse. The court reinstated his life sentence. Notably, Lawrence was also a suspect in the fatality of a 29-year-old student months prior, but charges were dropped due to lack of evidence. Eve's case changed state laws, increasing penalties for crimes committed by groups. Her university established a scholarship in her name and created a memorial garden on campus. If this story touched you, please share your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching.